When someone begins to care, it's often the quiet things that speak the loudest. In a world full of noise, flashy gestures, social media declarations, superficial attention, it's easy to mistake grand displays for genuine affection. But real emotional connection usually shows up in the subtler layers, in the moments you don't expect, in the small details others miss, in the way someone treats you when you're not putting on your best. Have you ever felt someone watching not just what you do or how you look, but who you really are? Perhaps you mentioned something casually, your favorite song, how you like your coffee, something that made you laugh or cry, and later, out of nowhere, he brings it up. Or maybe he calls or texts to ask how your day went, even if nothing spectacular happened. These are the signs that matter. They don't require applause. They don't need a big audience. They are quietly sincere, emotionally intelligent, and deeply respectful. True affection doesn't always make a show of itself. Sometimes it just is. It shows up as consistency, reliability, empathy, and a real interest in your inner world. It means the person isn't just present when it's easy or fun. They're still around when things get tough, awkward, or emotionally messy. They stay long enough to understand you, to learn your rhythms, your insecurities, your hopes, and sometimes they offer help, understanding, or softness before you even realize you need it. In the coming list, you'll find the subtle habits, behaviors, and signals that often lie beneath the surface, the ones that let you know someone isn't just attracted to you, but genuinely cares about you. These are the people who don't always make noise, but who matter deeply, because they see you, they hear you, they value not just the parts of you everyone admires, but the parts you sometimes hide. If you're wondering whether his interest is real, whether his affection is more than just a passing phase, or whether he's emotionally present and invested, pay attention to the quiet, the details, the consistency, the ways he shows up when it doesn't benefit him. Immediately below are those behaviors, the silent habits, that often speak far more than big words. 1. He remembers small details about your conversations. Remembering details doesn't just mean you said something. It means the other person heard you, and your words mattered enough for them to hold on to. You might mention what you like in movies, your favorite snack, something that made you sad the other day, or an idiosyncrasy you barely notice yourself. If he brings it up later, maybe not in a big way, but casually, it shows your words left a mark. It means he was paying attention. That attention is meaningful, because in everyday life a lot of talk happens, but few things are retained. Most people remember the broad strokes, that you went on a trip, or that you had a difficult day. But remembering small, specific details, like what you said about the trip, what you wore, how you felt, what you laughed about, that comes from care. It shows you weren't just background noise. You were significant. Also, this kind of remembering builds trust. When someone recalls what you've said, you feel understood and seen. You feel that what you think and what you say matters. That makes you more willing to open up, share more. Emotional connection deepens very naturally, without needing dramatic declarations. When you realize someone remembers what you said, you see that they listen, they notice. In this way, feelings grow without always needing to be spoken. There's a subtle message in remembering details. You're on his mind even when you're not present. When he's asked about you by others or when your conversation comes up, he can recall what you said. He doesn't have to scramble to remember. That shows consistency, that he values your voice, that the relationship matters. He notices when you're upset, even if you don't say anything. When someone notices you're upset, even when you don't say a word, it means they're truly tuned into you, not just your words, but your mood, your energy, your unspoken signs. There are moments when nothing is said, but everything is felt. A sudden quietness, a heavier tone, maybe a glance that seems distant. He picks up on those. Instead of shrugging it off, ignoring the shift, or waiting for you to point it out, he acts or reacts in small ways. Maybe he gently asks if you're okay. Maybe he gives you space. Maybe he asks about your day with an extra softness, or offers something that might help ease the day. A coffee, a comforting word, or just his presence. These gestures don't have to be loud or dramatic. Sometimes what matters most is the subtlety. That sensitivity builds a deeper emotional connection. You feel safer that you don't always have to voice everything for someone to care. It creates the sense that your emotional world matters, even when you don't clearly express it. Over time, this tends to foster trust. You become more open, Knowing that someone doesn't need everything spelled out to know you're hurting, or to want to support you. It also shows empathy, being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to sense what they might be going through without constant explanation. Noticing emotional shifts is less about solving immediately and more about being present, attentive, caring. It suggests emotional investment. You matter even when you're quiet. He makes time for you despite his busy schedule. When someone makes time for you despite having a busy schedule, it's a silent but strong signal of how much you matter to them. Life often fills itself with work, chores, social commitments, and personal goals. So choosing to carve out space for you means you're part of their priorities. Not just an afterthought. It isn't always about big gestures or long hours. Sometimes it's a short call when they could have skipped it, or sending a message to check how your day went even when they're tired. Maybe rearranging plans so your time together isn't rushed. It shows flexibility, willingness to adjust, to share time, even when there are competing demands. Over time, these small choices add up. They build a sense of reliability. You count, your presence matters, and you're not disposable. You feel valued. It makes the emotional bond stronger because time is one of the few resources you can't get back. Every moment given is meaningful. Also, by making time for you regularly, he demonstrates consistency. It's not just a one-off or something he does when convenient. It becomes part of how he behaves. That steadiness breeds trust, comfort, and the feeling that your relationship isn't conditional on mood or circumstance. In short, he doesn't just say you're important. He shows it through his actions, by making you part of his day whether things are hectic or calm. He subtly compliments what makes you unique. When someone gives you compliments about what makes you unique, and does so in a subtle way, it means they've noticed things about you that go deeper than what everyone sees on the surface. These aren't generic "you look nice" or "you're smart" remarks, but more particular. Maybe it's how you laugh, how you think, a small habit, a quirk, a piece of your style, or a value they admire. Such compliments show genuine observation. He's listening, watching, reflecting on what distinguishes you from others. He values those details and doesn't just rely on cliches. When he says things like, "I like how you always notice the little details," or "you have a way of calming people down just by being around," that tells you he's paying attention and that he appreciates the parts of you that are uniquely you. Over time, these subtle acknowledgments shape how you see yourself too. They reinforce your individuality, help you feel seen and accepted for who you really are. Not just the socially popular or most visible parts, but your deeper character traits. You begin to trust that he understands you, that he values the real you. Moreover, subtle compliments carry more weight because they're less about impressing others and more about expressing personal truth, what he genuinely notices and admires. They're not showy. They don't try to attract attention. They're just honest, small acknowledgments. In everyday life, these little remarks can lift your mood, remind you someone cares, and gradually build emotional intimacy. You realize that he's not with you just for how you look or how others see you. He's with you for who you are. He sends you messages just to check how your day is going. When he sends you messages just to check how your day is going, it shows he's thinking about you even when you're apart. It isn't only about needing something or making plans. It's about being present, staying connected, caring about your well-being. Imagine this. You're busy, maybe stressed or tired, and you get a message like, "How's your day been?" Or, "Hope work wasn't too crazy today." That moment you realize someone remembered, that you matter enough for him to want to know how you're doing. It's a small thing, but it can make a big difference. Over time, these check-in messages build familiarity and emotional closeness. You don't feel alone in your day. You feel someone cares about your experiences, your ups and downs. You get to share more naturally because the lines of communication are already warm and open. It also communicates consistency and interest. If he reaches out regularly to know how you are, it means you're not an afterthought. He's not only around when it's convenient or exciting. He's around in the mundane, the regular, the everyday. This habit helps form trust. You feel safe to share joys and worries, small achievements and challenges, because you know he cares. It subtly tells you that your emotional world matters to him, even when nothing dramatic is happening. 6. He mirrors your body language unconsciously. When he unconsciously mirrors your body language, It's one of the most natural signs of emotional connection and attraction. Mirroring happens when two people are deeply in sync. Without realizing it, one person begins to copy the other's posture, gestures, tone, or even breathing rhythm. It's a psychological reflection of comfort and rapport. If you cross your legs and he does the same a moment later, or if you lean forward and he follows, it's not coincidence. It's his subconscious way of aligning with you, showing empathy and interest. His body is communicating what words don't. That he's fully engaged in your presence. That he feels a sense of familiarity and trust. This kind of mirroring isn't forced or planned. It just happens because he's attentive to you. His brain is responding to your cues as if you're both part of the same rhythm, the same emotional wavelength. It often occurs in genuine connection because when people feel emotionally close, their bodies naturally synchronize. You might also notice smaller details. He adopts your speaking pace, your expressions, even certain phrases you use. That's because he's absorbing the energy you give off, wanting subconsciously to match it. It's his way of saying, "I understand you," without speaking. Over time, this silent harmony builds trust and intimacy. It makes conversations flow easily, creates comfort, and deepens the emotional bond. When someone mirrors you like that, they're not just observing, they're feeling you. He introduces you to people important in his life. When he introduces you to people important in his life, family, close friends, maybe colleagues who really matter, it means he's inviting you into his world, not just keeping you in the outside sphere. It's more than social courtesy. It's a sign of trust, that he values your presence enough to share parts of his life that are meaningful, people he respects or relies on. He's saying, in effect, "This person is important to me, and I want you to meet those who are important to me." You meeting those key people can also help you understand him better, his background, values, priorities. You see who he holds in high regard, how he acts around others, how others respond to him. It builds context. Also, being introduced to important people usually means he is serious about the relationship, or at least wants others to see you as someone meaningful in his life. It shows fewer hidden parts, less secrecy. If he keeps you away from family or close friends, it could suggest he's less comfortable integrating you into deeper parts of his identity. But introducing you means there is a desire for closeness, legitimacy, and continuity. It can feel scary, meeting the important others, but often it deepens the connection. You feel more secure, included, involved. You're not just an option or secret delight. You're part of what matters to him. He defends you in front of others quietly. जब कोई शख्स दूसरों के सामने चुपचाप आपका ख्याल रखता है, आपको बचाता है या आपके हक में बोलता है, बिना उस पर चमक धमक बनाए, तो ये एक बहुत गहरी और खामोश निशानी होती है कि वो सचमुच आपकी परवाह करता है। मिसाल के तौर पे, आप किसी ग्रुप में हो, किसी ने कुछ ऐसी बात कह दी जो आपको बेइज्जत कर सकती है या आपकी कोई कमी हाईलाइट कर दी। उस वक्त अगर वो आपके साथ खामोशी से खड़ा हो जाए, एक बार आपकी बात कर ले या एक ऐसा लफ्ज बोल दे जो समझा दे कि वो आपका साथ दे रहा है, बिना ड्रामा करने के, तो ये उनकी लॉयल्टी और रिस्पेक्ट को जाहिर करता है। ये क्वाइट डिफेंडिंग का मतलब ये नहीं कि वो हमेशा लाउड आर्गू करते रहें, बल्कि ज़रूर पड़ने पर, सही मोमेंट पर, वो आपका बैकिंग करते हैं। इसका फ़ायदा ये होता है कि आप महसूस करते हो कि जब भी ज़रूरत पड़ेगी, कोई है जो आपके लिए खड़ा होगा। एक बार या दो बार ये मुर्तफ़ा सूरत करना अक्सर होता है, लेकिन अगर ये रेगुलरली, लेकिन सटल तर्ज में होता है, to it builds emotional safety. You're less likely to feel exposed or judged, more likely to feel supported. He supports your dreams without being asked when he supports your dreams without you having to ask. It's one of the purest signs of genuine care and emotional maturity. It means he's paying attention to what drives you, your ambitions, passions, and the goals that make you feel alive. He doesn't wait for you to remind him or push him to notice. He already does because he's been listening, observing, and understanding what matters most to you. Support doesn't always come as grand gestures. Sometimes it's in the small, thoughtful actions, encouraging words when you doubt yourself, showing up for something important to you, sending a message before an exam or presentation, or simply believing in you when you're tired of trying. Those moments build quiet strength in the relationship, the kind that lasts. He celebrates your wins sincerely, not with envy or insecurity, but with pride. He wants you to grow, even if it means you might outshine him in certain areas. That shows emotional confidence. He doesn't see your success as a threat, but as something beautiful to be part of. Supporting your dreams also means patience. He understands the sacrifices and struggles that come with ambition, and he doesn't guilt you for having your own priorities. Instead, he helps you find balance, reminding you that your dreams are valid and worth chasing. When someone does all this without needing to be told, it proves that your happiness and fulfillment genuinely matter to them. It's love expressed through action, not obligation, and that's what makes it so powerful. He shares his goals and fears with you. When he shares his goals and fears with you, it's like he's giving you the blueprint of his inner world. What drives him? What keeps him up at night? What excites him? What scares him? It means he trusts you enough to let you see both his strengths and his vulnerabilities. He might talk about what he hopes to achieve: career, personal growth, relationships, values, or admit what he's uncertain about: failures, doubts, insecurities, what he's risking. Because these aren't always easy topics, it takes courage to expose fears and to voice hopes out loud. If he does it without you pushing him, it shows sincerity. This openness helps you connect more deeply. You start understanding not only what he does, but why he does it. You see the motivations behind his choices. You're more likely to respond with empathy, encouragement, realistic advice, or simply a listening ear. It also indicates emotional availability. He's not hiding large parts of himself. He's willing to be seen as he is: imperfect, striving, cautious, ambitious. That makes you feel safer to reciprocate, to let yourself be open too. In relationships where this happens, people tend to grow together rather than drift apart, because what matters is shared understanding, mutual support, and honest communication. He does things that make you comfortable without needing praise. When he does things that make you comfortable, without expecting praise or thanks every single time, it speaks volumes about how much he values your well-being, simply for its own sake. You might notice he notices small discomforts before you mention them. Maybe the chair you're sitting on is crooked, or you're cold, or there's a background noise distracting you. Without being told, he adjusts things, offers you something more comfortable, or moves to a quiet spot. He doesn't do it just to be seen as nice. He does it because you being at ease matters to him. Another example: if you have a talent or interest he knows about, he might make resources or opportunities available, sending you something that could help, suggesting people you might talk to, or giving you space and time to practice. He doesn't do all this just to be praised for being supportive. He does it because he genuinely wants you to grow and feel comfortable. The nice part of this is how it builds trust. You realize that many of his actions are not performative or about optics, but come from a place of genuine care. You don't always have to ask. You don't always have to make your discomfort very obvious. He works in the background, smoothing out things, making little adjustments so your experience is better. Over time, such behavior becomes part of the emotional atmosphere of your relationship. You start to feel safer, secure, known, because you don't have to explain or justify your needs all the time. He anticipates some of them. This isn't the stuff of grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It's quiet, it's consistent, and it often matters more than the loud things. He shows consistency in his behavior and doesn't just disappear. When he shows consistency in his behavior and doesn't just disappear, it means his presence isn't conditional or temporary. You aren't only around for the good times or when it's convenient. You begin to feel secure that he'll be there, not just in peak moments, but also in the lulls, the routine days, the times when nothing dramatic happens. Consistency means he doesn't send mixed signals. He doesn't sometimes act very into you and then vanish without explanation. He doesn't drop off the radar for long stretches with weak excuses, then reappear as if nothing happened. Instead, you see a pattern: regular communication, reliable follow-through, emotional availability, and genuine concern. You notice he shows up when he says he will, he keeps promises, he remains attentive, not only when you're exciting or fun, but when you might be tired, moody, or quiet. This steady behavior builds trust in a way that flashy attention or grand gestures alone can't, because you realize it's not just about making a good impression. It's about showing who he genuinely is, his values, his respect, his commitment. You begin to believe in what he says because his actions back them up over time.